trying to provide real-time, support to all of you. But maybe if a couple of people are missed out, then I'll definitely attend to that. Okay. So we're all set, friends. This is the third day. With this, we are almost crossing about 60% of the program. And when I reflected back yesterday, I think we made decent progress. Whatever we conceived the program in a certain way, and I am sure that I'm able to visualize that we are navigating it in the way that we have planned. At the end of this program, it is not just that you attend a program and I have conducted a program like that. There are some goals that I've set for myself, and those goals are basically to build some competencies among you all. Attending several, I mean, this is not the first program that I have done, or this is not the first program you've attended. We're all experts in doing it. Most of you are as experienced as me, or if not more than me. So it's a goal-based, outcome-based program that we are doing, and we are doing with full commitment from my panel of other two resource persons. We've spent enough time, and the way we have gone through and the way you have been interacting, the way you have been responding, things are all looking absolutely fine. So yesterday we tried to understand what are the basic concepts related to design, design attitude, then who is a designer, what is design thinking, and what are the models. And we have moved towards understanding the model part of it. We have done some half of those stages, and today we will further deepen our understanding of the design thinking, application of design thinking model, so that you are able to at the end of this program, all of you will be able to either teach in your respective colleges with a little more effort, or some of you who are practicing should be able to actually start working on implementation of what you're learning. So today we will get a sort of an exposure to what are the various other design inquiry models that are there, that have evolved over a period of time because of the initiatives taken by different design thinkers. So we're going to talk about 8 of them, and subject to time, how much deeply I can explain or deal with that depends on the available time. But I would like to complete these things by about 3:30. That means about 50-55 minutes from now. So the learning objectives are basically to understand what are the different models of design thinking, comparing the models to know the commonalities among them. Although, yes, you will all get the PPTs, everything will be supplied. You will get the PPTs, learning support, whatever more you have to read, what papers you can access. You are getting day-to-day the access to the YouTube links, everything you will get. There is no secret. Nothing to be held back, because it is a part of the what you call the instructions from the AICTE. It is we are not doing a private FDP here, and the AICTE wants to liberally distribute whatever the material that we have been using. So you will get everything. Not only that, after this program is over, you will also be able to access 3 of us. I will pass on the contact details, and if you have anything that you want to talk to us, we will be available to you. Okay, fine. So let me continue the learning objectives. Then what are the common problem solving approaches? This design thinking is not the first one. There are several approaches previously. If time is available, maybe I will click on those things. Well, the learning outcomes are here. I won't repeat them, but you all can have a quick look at them. Yesterday I've explained this in detail, but just to reinforce, I'm using this. Design is to design, a design to produce a design. I think that let it, be ingrained in our thinking, and each one of us, let us create a mindset that yes, I would like to be a design thinker. It can be useful to you at your personal level. It can be useful to you at your professional level. Yeah, what are those design inquiry models that we are going to deliberate today? These are the 8 different models that we are going to look at. The first one is the 3-gear model. The second one, the knowledge funnel model. Third one is IDEO HCD model. Fourth one is IDEO 3I model. Then the design thinking process model, the D-School design thinking model, and the double diamond model. And the last is the service design thinking model. So these are all, they're essentially similar, but they have some small variations here and there, because the people who have applied them in different contexts are different, and that context has actually made them to think. And some of them have been conceptualized based on what they have subsequent to a particular innovation or a new development. They have been conceptualized. So, but it is important in my view that you all know what are these different models, and then how do you relate from one to the other. Yes. Yes. Any question? Prafulla, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Right. So let's quickly go over these models. The first one is the 3-gear model. In each of these things, I've just put together maybe one example at least, and the basic concept of that, what is the basic model, and how does it look, the picture, or the depiction of that, the visualization of the model. Now, as you can see it here, the 3-gear model typically is represented with 3 gears there. The first one, like any other design thinking model, starts with the empathy and deep user understanding. It all starts with the same, but different people have put that in different ways of implementation or the conceptualization. So what do you do in the first part? It is the gear 1. It focuses on empathy and develop a deep human understanding of the problem or the challenge that you're studying. And at the second stage, one studies how you actually you visualize the concept, and how you can generate some ideas from what you have understood in the first stage of the first gear, develop some kind of a prototype, and go over evaluating what are the strengths and weaknesses of your prototype, so that you can further improve upon that. It is very similar to what you are going to study, the main model that we are going to study, the D-School model, but it is important to understand the variation. The third gear is, once you are able to reach out to a solution at the second gear, then the focus is going to be on how do you actually put it in alignment with your business, because ultimately all these things are meant to make your business more strategically aligned to the overall business goals and create some competitive advantage for you. So you will take it forward for executing the model so that your business goals can be met. Now, what are the examples that you can see for this? How this 3-gear model has been used as conceptualized by Fraser in 2009 in his paper. Basically, Nike is one company where you can see the application of this model, by which they have been able to create new variants in their business, and they have been able to successfully navigate through this process and make their business prosperous. So according to them, design is the perfect balance of form and function. I think these two words are very, very important. It is very important to have the combination of form and the function that captivates at first glance. That is their motto, and they have come up with lots of models, and including the integration of a chip in a shoe, using the design thinking concepts, and that has substantively helped them to improve their business overall. Similarly, if you look at the iPad, iPod of Apple, you know, how they have started off the journey is also a sort of 3-gear model. What you see in the picture over there, the blue ones, the deep blue ones are the ones which are the basic competencies or the basic strengths of the Apple company, and the ones which are middle blue are the ones which they have actually brought in through an external agency, and using that they have created multiple products. And as you can see, as we all know, iPods and iTunes have been a great business proposition for the Apple. So the process they have gone through can be conceptualized through the 3-gear model which has been explained just now. So this is the second. These are the two examples one can. I mean, we cannot spend more time than this on these examples of the model, but one can always go deeper into them. Then the second one we are going through is the knowledge funnel model. I think some of you may be aware of it, but then I think let me explain how this knowledge funnel model has worked and how some businesses have used the knowledge residing within the organization. How have they been able to create an innovative business model for their success? Now, there are 3 stages in the knowledge funnel model. Like the first one had 3 gears. Here you have 3 stages. The first one is the mystery. The second one is the heuristic. And the third one is the algorithm. I mean, these are all the jargons, but basically, if you have to see, first one is mysteries. When you are confronted with a challenge or a problem, everything is a mystery. If a particular business goes down, why has it gone down? What are the reasons for which it is going down? It is a mystery. Therefore, you'll have to work on that. So it is first you will understand what are the problems, and you go into the details of researching why that is happening. And then at the heuristic stage, you do not have, it is something like an iteration. You develop some rule of thumb and try to see what is workable and what is not workable. And finally, at the algorithm stage, you find a solution and put that rule of thumb, what has worked at the second stage, into a formula or a structured way of solving the problem. The approach in both the models is the same, except that the people who have conceived and who have written on that are different. Therefore, different people have put it in different models. But here again, the first part is from uncertainty. You only know what there is a problem, but you do not know what are the solutions, and you will have to keep on exploring it with a view to satisfy the user or being empathetic to the customer, and then look at what are the possible solutions through a thumb rule. It is a hunch. You really do not know what those are, and then do multiple iterations. Then whatever is workable, take it and structure it such a way that you have a proper algorithm. And why these terms are used, when you look at this example, you will be able to appreciate why the authors have put these particular jargons. So here we will have to use all kinds of possible reasoning, deductive, inductive, abductive, all that. And it is the final emphasis is the ability to use multiple ways of thinking to explore a problem, to solve the identified problem with multiple solutions and reach out a workable solution. I think here what do you see here? You all see something here? Yes?
Yeah, McDonald's.
Yeah, you are seeing here a McDonald's restaurant in 1955. Obviously, it is much before the concept of design thinking becoming much popular. But then the Martin, in his book of 2009, has conceptualized this as a knowledge funnel model, where they have identified why the business of McDonald's in drive-in has initially gone down, and what all they have done, what is the process that they have adopted by making a systematic study of their understanding the business, and how they have been able to create a business model for their drive-in business or the pickup from the car, and then they have later on, from 1955 to today, we all know that their business has multiplied. We do not know how many times, but you must read this important thing, which is said by Richard McDonald. You make a point of offering a choice, and you are dead. The speed is gone. I think that is the basis of. Now, that is where I think this entire argument of this particular thing has been built by the author. They found that the customers are not coming to them for certain reason, and they went on investigating. Then they found that when you're traveling, what are those things? What are those touch points of the user requirements they have understood, and after considerable amount of research, and prior to doing that, they have done phenomenal changes in the people who have been approaching that business, and they have realized that the knowledge which they have already acquired is to be advanced. That is, a restaurant which is catering to the people who are coming and consuming the food there is different from the facility where people are just driving in and picking up food for their consumption on the go, and hence they made the study of not knowing what was the problem. That is the model that you have seen here. There was a mystery why this business is going down. Then they have understood, they have done some study of the people who are doing this, they've been interviewed, they have conducted some observations and all, and at the heuristic stage, they have come to some assumptions of what can work and what cannot work. So they've developed some thumb rules, and at the algorithm stage, they have developed a SOP kind of a document where everything is documented, cut down the number of offerings, how to be packed, what to be packed, how to deliver. Everything has been done, and everything has been, people have been trained, and therefore they were able to capture the business value. And that is a great example of knowledge funnel model. Then we have this third one, which is the IDEO's HCD model. We have two models. We'll talk about two models. This is more of a model for the NGOs or the social enterprises, and I thought this is very important for you to note and to know. But don't get confused with the diagram on the right side here. That is the classic design thinking model. But the actual HCD model will be shown in the next slide. Now, what is this slide and why is it different? I think it's important for you to know the story, a couple of stories that we all face in India. Some time ago, a couple of years ago, when I was in a place called Vijayawada, the Vijayawada district collector or somebody has passed an order. Right, that was the time when we were all talking about the hygiene and clean India, whatever, the Swachh Bharat and all that. So the collector of Krishna district in Andhra Pradesh gave an order that if anybody is found to be defecating in open areas, he will be penalized 100 rupees. And he just not only put the 100 rupee penalty, and they have put several boards all over the place on the roadside and all that. Do you think this is a workable solution for stopping the defecation in public?
No, sir.
So I mean, why do you think the collector has done that? At the peak of Swachh Bharat movement, when we were all paying 0.25% as the Swachh Bharat cess, and I do not know how, and they were planning to implement this, but I was a witness to these boards all over. So what do you think has gone wrong in this? Just I wanted to understand from your perspective.
Unless you have alternatives for the people, we cannot bring these things. We should install alternate system.
Right. Absolutely. They were not empathetic to the people who were, sort of the targets of this particular campaign by the administration. It was a top-driven solution probably. They had not done any study perhaps why people are doing this and what is their perspective, all that. Okay, fine. That is not a good solution. But then later on, we have all paid so many crores of rupees as cess, and the government says we have built so many toilets all over the country. But do you see the defecation stopping all over the country, or is it still continuing?
Still continuing.
Yeah, have we solved the problem of open defecation, open urinals, and all that?
Yes.
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 Yeah, it has come down though, but still continues. Okay.
Yeah, it is more because of the habit actually.
Okay. So one you are saying is because of the habit, the other maybe because of the insufficiency of the facilities. And I also know we have done some, recently somewhere I was interacting with some of the people. What they have said is that it doesn't have water, it doesn't have the hygiene required and all that. Okay. So it is not that you create a facility, it is not a physical facility or infrastructure to be created. You also need some services to be provided along with that, right? Yeah, we need to have proper planning and have to have conduct awareness, toilet charges. All these things are important. So as a consequence, what happened is, I know at least for in Hyderabad, you still see these things happening, and I don't think the rest of country has changed so much, right? So where is the problem? The problem is in not going through the systematic way of applying design thinking, what the IDEO HCD model has actually suggested here. So it has basically three phases: the hearing, creating, and delivering, leading to an acronym HCD. HCD is not human-centric design, although it is still human-centric. But in the case of the NGO or the social enterprise, they mean that hearing and creating and delivering to the users basically. Now, what do we mean by hearing? It is focus on collecting the stories and gathering the inspiration of the people. Now, if the government of India or the collector of the Krishna district wanted to do something good, something great, something sustainable, something is valuable, probably they would have done some. They would have conducted some study with the colleges around and understood what are the stories from the people who are actually going for open defecation. Then creating space is focusing on working together in a workshop format to translate what was heard from people into frameworks, opportunities, solutions, and prototypes, moving from concrete to abstract thinking to identifying the opportunities. So some brainstorming, some amount of ideation, some kind of innovative thinking could have been created, which could have been done by the college, would have done it lovingly with a lot of inspiration from the administration. And finally, delivering is focusing on assessing capability, cost modeling, and planning for implementation. Now, if somebody puts up a board saying that if you are found to be defecating openly, you'll be charged 100 rupees penalty, I don't know who's going to collect that 100 rupees. How are they going to implement? God knows. That is the kind of paradox that I've seen in a situation like this. Now here again, we'll go through some interesting developments and interesting examples. In Andhra Pradesh, there is a foundation called Nandi Foundation, which provides clean drinking water in villages. And their model too did not work because again, it is a top-driven model. They have created these facilities in some of these villages where the potable drinking water was not available, and people were suffering diseases like diarrhea. And in certain parts of the Andhra Pradesh, the child mortality rate below the age of 1 was around 10%. So this foundation came up with an idea of creating some facility for potable water for those districts. And when some researchers have gone and found how effective it was, they found that people were not using it. They were not using it for, just to cut the long story short, they were not using it because, one, the distance part, number two, the kind of packaging that particular organization has created was not friendly for the women. Generally the water was fetched by the women folk in these villages, and those women were not able to carry the kind of packaging that they were giving. The quantity is much more than what they can physically bring on their head or on their hip, and therefore these women were not able to carry it. Again, it is a typical problem of not understanding the user perspective with empathy, and thinking that whatever you push from the top will be accepted by the consumers or the users. So therefore, it has failed. Quite a few of these problems which are faced by the bottom of the pyramid population, whether it is in India or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or some of these African countries, the solutions, if you are able to involve the beneficiaries of those solutions and understand their perspective with empathy, perhaps we will have far better meaningful solutions than what we are able to right now see. That also can conserve a lot of money, and that will be more productive. So here is another example of how this model has been used in a different country. I think it was a model of Ghana. So some of these things, there are several such examples which we can understand. What is important for us to know is the HCD model can be more applied in the instances where you want to use them for social purposes. Here, conceptually, it is basically first understanding the consumer or the user or the problem itself, the people who are involved in the problem, and then create some stories. Let them tell the stories themselves and understand those stories. From there, you develop themes, and then from those themes, using multidisciplinary teams, you look at what are the opportunities, and then from those things you synthesize and bring some kind of a solution, and those solutions can be tried out as prototypes, and finally you will get something which is more workable than many others, and whatever is more effective for you, that can be the final solution. Does it really clear all the pain points? May not be, but even if 80% of the pain points are cleared, still it is a model that is workable, as opposed to not doing any scientifically properly planned design thinking approach and just dumping something which you think or the organization thinks is workable for them. That is not a desirable model. So that is the third one. The next one is the design thinking process model. This is again sort of a variation from what we have done, but it has some unique features. Now, what these unique features we will understand, and it uses a structured questioning approach to explore a problem and identify the potential solutions. Others also do that, but the approach is slightly different here compared to the previous approaches. The answer to each question builds the foundation for work to be addressed in the next question. What is this? Just let me see this. We'll address it. Yeah, okay. The question is there any correlation between models and problems? It can be generally specific. Example, financial problems, social problems, occupational problems. Yes, I think some of these things, as I said, the HCD model is more applicable for the social problems or the societal problems. And the business models are all generally the Stanford D School model that they use, or IDS model that they use. But the others are different contexts. You can use probably the approach. That is why I've got a couple of slides on what is common among them. When we come to see the commonality among all these models, you'll be able to appreciate how one can choose a particular model. Just hold on for a while. I think it is going to be answered. Sir, is it something related to case and effect is equal to Pareto model? Cause and effect, is it? Or case and effect? Yeah, cause and effect, Pareto's model. I don't think we are now referring to, in my opinion, it is not the cause and effect model. I think it is what we are trying to see is design thinking as a problem solution in any context. Earlier, design thinking or design was confined to only some areas of work, but now, for instance, IDEO does designing of organizations, they are consulted for designing the strategies for organizations by some of those big companies. What we are now trying to approach towards the end of this session is that we are going to say that design thinking is a way of a mindset of thinking to find solutions which are more lasting and sustainable. That is what we are going to talk about. Maybe a few years ago, I would have thought that, the Nandi Foundation's water supply model, I would have said, okay, it's good. We are doing something good to the society. But then doing something good to the society is doing something different from doing something more effective for the society. Maybe we apply these procedures, we apply this process, we will be able to do a much better service at a lower cost and with higher user satisfaction. That is what all we can say. Okay. So let's understand what is design thinking process model. I'll take you to the next slide where you will understand various steps. The first here again, we understand the current state of the problem or the issue, then envision the multiple options for the new future, choosing where to focus on first, and then interacting with the real world to determine what can be implemented. The steps are more or less same, but the approach is different. How do you visualize? How do you structure? Just see, it is fascinating to see this model. First is you try to understand what the issue is. What are we trying to address? If it is required here, you need to do the journey mapping with the customer. Now, what is journey mapping? We will see. We will not go into everything, but at least a couple of them. And value chain analysis, most of you would have done it because a good number of you are either from engineering background or from 50% of you are from management background. I'm sure these two terms you would have already known what is value chain analysis and what is mind mapping. Tony Buzan's mind mapping is very, very popularly used in many business schools, and I'm sure you would be aware of it. Therefore, I'm not touching. And if in case you do not know about mind mapping, just read something on Tony Buzan's mind mapping. It is a very good tool. In fact, yesterday somebody was asking the art of living people, how do you improve your memory? And if you are able to go through the literature of mind mapping, you will be able to understand how do you increase your memory. Now, what it says is first you understand where you are starting from, and to understand that thoroughly, if it is required, go through the journey mapping, and I'll explain you what is journey mapping. And then you will understand what the issues are, and then once you know what the issue or what the problem is, then you go for brainstorming the alternatives or the solutions. And then towards the end of that, you will develop some kind of a concept from divergence. As you can see here, you first have no idea about that. You will explore this, then you will zero down to a problem area, and then let me put the pointer here. Yeah, you will be able to see this converging to a problem. Then again you have divergence, as you can see here. Then once the brainstorming is over, you will do some convergence, you will come to some convergence towards concept development. And then once you develop the concept, you come to the assumption being tested. And then like any other model, you will also here develop the rapid prototyping. And once you do the rapid prototyping, again here you go to the customer co-creation. The word here is co-creation because it's always better to involve the user, and that will initially it may look like an expensive affair, but as you go towards the overall model, customer co-creation is a faster and more economic way of doing things than doing on our own. And then finally you learn what works, and then you launch your final solution. So this is a slight variation again compared to the models that we have seen earlier, but it is quite effective. Now, this is what a journey mapping is. It is a visualization of the process that a person goes through in order to accomplish a particular goal, a customer. Now, what is the example of that? We will see here. Every customer we will have. You need to have. It is like the persona. What we have discussed yesterday. You need to have a specific user in mind, who is your customer, and then all of us will have a scenario and certain goals. And then from there, you will be able to reach out to how the customer is navigating this process. I think an example here will be much better. Now, for example, if you want to change your SIM card from one provider to the other provider you want to go, how the customer journey happen is what is explained. So here you want to switch from one plan to the other mobile plan. She wants what are the objectives the person has? Why do you want to change? You want all the facilities that you're enjoying from the current plan, but you want some savings. You want it more expensive, less expensive. And therefore, the expectations of the customer are the goals of the customer are clear online information, ability to compare plans breakdown, and friendly and helpful customer support. The goal is lesser cost, same benefits, or more benefits. So when you are defining as a customer, what you will look at is review the current plan, define the parameters for the new plan, what more or what additional or what you do not want. So then at the second stage, whether you confide it with the salesperson or the company or not, you will try and see what if the trigger is a TV ad. You will try and understand what is being projected there. You will go and search on the websites of various information providers and use current carrier website to compare the options. Nowadays, of course, for everything you can make n number of comparisons. There are tools available. Then you will negotiate. That is the third stage. You will negotiate. Call the current carrier to tell them she's shopping around. I mean, that all of us do, I think. By and large, we'll tell the current provider that I want to switch over my plan from this to this or from this provider to that provider because we are interested in doing some arm twisting. Then call competitors to see what they can offer. So you will say, I'll be moving from Airtel to Vodafone, and then see what additional things they will give. And finally, you will decide on a new plan and call customer services to switch their service once you come to a final decision. Now, this is the journey that any customer goes through. If you are able to go through and map this journey, then your insight into the solution will be better. Therefore, it's a structured way of understanding what the customer journey is, and therefore it is called the journey mapping. Okay. A similar approach is also used in here. For example, you see a picture where a robo is being developed for assisting the elderly people in their elderly home facility, right? So what is the uniqueness of this design thinking process model? So success does not come for free. It requires a large set of tools, systematic thinking, holistic perspective, and willingness to fail. I think this is what happens in all these stages that we have seen in these four. So you have to go through a lot of hard work in this, and ultimately it will lead you to a good solution and lasting solution. When active collaboration is the key for truly successful innovation and meaningful designs. I think at every stage, convergence, divergence, what you see, it is not one person's job. In fact, some people have asked me, what is the purpose of our peer review for this assignment? Because it is an online thing, we thought that it is better to go for at least peer review, because having a group of 8 to 10 people will be difficult. Had it been a physical exercise, we would have loved to have some 8 to 10 people sitting around a table and discussing a proposal to generate more ideas. Then you would have really been excited to see how new ideation happens. So people must be kept in mind at every stage in the entire process. And design is too important to be left to only designers. Yes, sir. Dr.
Yeah. Sir, design thinking process model, is there any relationship kind of, but we already have the DMARC approach. Design, measure, analyze, implement, and
No, I'm coming to that. In the next couple of slides, you will see that. It's
Sure.
already there.
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen the question, and DMAC is also. I'm going to show how it is different from what design thinking is. Absolutely. Yeah, correct. Okay, great. Are we doing well? Does it all make sense? Yes. Okay, very nice. Thank you. Then, of course, the typical D school model of the one which we are going to study, what is developed by the Stanford University. Basically, it has 6 different phases: understand, observe, point of view, ideate, prototype, and test. Again, more or less same what we have seen earlier, but each one has their own approach. What is important is not to criticize or not to undermine anyone. Each one has a different approach, and their approach has given certain results in certain contexts, and therefore we are studying them. So under the understand phase, you gather information through a secondary research, and observe phase, you go and observe, interview, see, meet people, meet the users, and collect the data. And point of view phase, basically you synthesize whatever you have collected and put those things into some visual frameworks so that you are able to understand the user perspective. I think what you are not seeing, had it been in a physical environment, you would have seen each one of you or each one of the groups there would have consumed bundles of these post-it slips. Typically, design thinking is associated with using bundles of post-it slips, because for every idea you put your idea in a post-it slip and paste it in appropriate location in your whole solution finding process or problem identification process. So at the point of view phase, you bring in the synthesis of what you have done at the understanding and the observation phase. Then the next stages of ideation and prototyping are similar to what the IDEO solution process is, or IDEO's model is. Therefore, I have not elaborated here. But then you look at the model here, what the Stanford D School has given: understand, observe, point of view, ideate, prototype, and test. So again, the iterations are wherever it is required. They have been shown in terms of how you go back and forth is represented here. Yeah, then the next model that we're going to look at is the Design Council's double diamond model. Again, this is one more variant or one more model that you will see in the literature on design thinking. So it is basically based on, initially when you are confronted with an issue or a problem, you will go into whatever you have done in the previous models. If you see, initially there is a divergence, and then there is a convergence towards statement of a problem, and then you have again divergence in terms of developing various perspectives and different options or possible solutions, which you iterate, and finally you converge to something which will be considered to be a solution to the problem. So the discovery phase, a design thinker is searching for new opportunities, new markets, new information, new trends, and new insights. And then when you come to the define stage, all that will again, you will synthesize the new ideas, all those whatever you have gathered, and come to a definite problem. You will have clarity of what you are trying to solve. That you will define the problem. Then again you divert to find out what all various options are there. This is again where you will have to use multiple people from different backgrounds rather than having people with same background, and you will then develop a set of possible solutions, and from there you will again zero down to a final solution which you will deliver. The typical model of the double diamond looks like this, which is conceptualized by the Design Council, but recently they have modified this model from what they have given in 2007. After working with that model for about a decade plus, they've realized that in the current context, when design thinking is used not only for promoting or producing products and developing products, it is very, very extensively used in other areas. The model has been changed. So whatever you discussed in the earlier slide, that is the same thing that you see. But what is important now is for all of you to make a notice the new model or the new framework that the design council has come up with. Now here, if you see what is important, strikingly important is they've called it as a framework for innovation. They've called it as a framework for innovation. Now, as you can see, design thinking is now being promoted as a new way of looking at things for being innovative. Now, what are those things, new things that have brought in? What was earlier a problem, they have brought in a challenge. So instead of calling it as a problem, they have now termed it as a challenge, and the solution is an outcome. So it is much more broader in its approach. It's much more broader, and they wanted to bring in 4 more factors into that. One is the engagement part, where you are getting connected to various stakeholders in your solution. Then there are some design principles that are being brought in. I know the slide is not very clear, but in any case, I will send you the model when I finally give you all these papers, which is much more clearer. And design thinking or design thinkers now, those who are involved in the process, they've got some methods. So what are the methods that we have been talking about? So they have put them all together and they said there are some methods bank. And when you're trying to develop a solution to that, you have the opportunity of picking up some methods which are relevant to your context or your situation. And all that happens when all this you want to happen effectively, then you need some leadership. There has to be some direction. Somebody has to be the owner and who will drive this. That does not mean that a leader is a boss. A leader will walk the path here. He's not a boss himself. So if you see this, design thinking is now going moving beyond what was previously understood, and from the last couple of years, it is now considered to be a very, very effective model for innovation. I have still another 5-7 minutes, so let me quickly go through this. Then the next model is the service design thinking model. Here, the model is customized to the service functions like the exploration, creation, reflection, and implementation phase. And the model looks like this. It is very interesting. The quote here is very, very interesting. When you have 2 coffee shops right next to each other and each sell the exact same coffee, exact same price, and service design is what makes you walk into one, not the other. I think service, so far, we have discussed a lot of these models being used in the context of product, but even in service function, you can use the design thinking. Now, what are the examples I can quote? Because I don't have so much time missing. Okay. Kone, all of you know, it is the supplier of lifts. Lift is typically a hardware product. It's a physical product. But then post the supply of lift and installation of the lift, they also engage with their customers in a lot of service provision. So they had some issues in their business, and they have very successfully used service design project by integrating who is the most important stakeholder in their service provision for a lift provider. Can you name? After the lift is installed in your building, the interface between you and the company, who is the person who comes and gets in touch with you?
Person who maintains.
Yeah, maintenance staff,
Yeah,
the lift operators, the maintenance staff, absolutely, absolutely, and that they have actually gained a lot of insights as to how they have to improve their service function, and how to, not only that, they have also subsequently integrated their physical product with the service function, and they have used this design service thinking model, and they have elegant new models for their company, and they have been a very, very successful company. Thereafter, they've improved their business. So the design service thinking model is also important. Then the IDEO's 3I model, I think most of you will be aware of it, and it is going to be discussed in greater detail today and tomorrow again. Therefore, I will. This is called the 3I model: inspiration, ideation, and implementation. And therefore, I'll quickly move over. Now, let's look at quickly the commonalities in all these models. So the commonalities are basically the understanding, conceptualizing, and experimenting. The iterations or the prototyping is what we are doing. So in each one of them, what is common theme is clearly deciphered and put into a framework. So when we talked about 8 different models, although they appear to be 8 models, but they all have a common. We talk about a single model. The reason is that they have been developed with different experiments or different experiences, and are in different contexts. Therefore, they all have been brought into the literature. But if you distill them, you will all find that they have lot of commonalities. So I don't want to read all of them. It's already 3:26, and this document will be available to you. You can read it at your convenience. But the problem solving approach is what I've mentioned to you, and what CPS and design thinking. I will not go into the details again, but now that you have raised an issue, a question about what are the 5 phases of Lean Six Sigma approach. So what is the difference between this? There again, you will do the definition of the problem, use various forms of data collection, including capturing the voice of the customer, then use data-driven structured process, and testing is formal on a larger scale and done once the solution is identified, and you will prescribe the process for implementing. Controls are also identified to ensure sustainability. This is a very structured approach. In fact, I have done my statistical quality control and operations research, but from there to what design thinking is much more user-oriented approach. It is much more user-oriented approach, and I would say that today we are moving away from design being a scientific process to a science. Art means I'm not talking about the art, typical art. I'm talking about basically design. It requires, effective design requires the combination of both the left and right brain thinking, and typically a single person may not have these insights, and therefore we need to have the combination of a multifunctional team focused on developing these solutions. Therefore, nothing wrong if you have got a completely non-technical person as a part of your team, because who can look at with a fresh mind. Let me tell you, I am, although we all claim to be highly qualified, when it comes to the designing, the designer, the visualizer who is doing in our offices, they are not as qualified, they are not PhDs in anything, but the kind of insights they can bring in, the raw material that you give, and the kind of design they bring in is phenomenal. What you just give an idea, but they shape it up. So I think that is the value of design thinking. The value of design thinking is your ability to integrate multiple thinking into it and seeing it from different perspectives. And design thinking is not an outcome is not a product or a service. It's a process which will eventually lead to some innovation, and therefore it yields you some kind of a product or a service. I think it's already 12:29 and 3:29. I will leave some 4-5 minutes for any questions. So I will stop here, and we will move on for any questions that you have. And Mr. Sayantan must be already, he must have been logged in, and the next session we will start at 3:45. After 5 minutes later, I will break for 10 minutes. Yes, sir, the floor is now open. I hope I've been able to give you some perspective about what are the different models and how you are able to understand these things and appreciate these things from where they have been developed and how they have helped different organizations in developing their products and services. Yes, Madam Manmeet, Madam.
Sir, I just wanted, it's a different question. Actually, Stanford Institute of Design Thinking nowadays is offering virtual online courses in design thinking, and they are actually selling it, advertising it very vociferously. So does it make sense to enroll for such programs in online mode, sir? And they charge quite a lot as in rupees, in dollars, I mean converted to rupees.
Yeah. They charge about $3,100.
Yes.
And most of them, MIT, Virginia, all these organizations charge $3,000 to $3,500 range. And typically, they conduct some. They market those products in the name of the professor who is delivering those products. But then,
yes.
I mean, it ultimately depends on what is your value proposition. If you ask me, is it really worth spending so much money? Well, if you have money you want to spend, that's okay. But to my mind, it is return on investment. If I look at, maybe I don't know. I'm not very sure.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you so much.
I don't want to comment on it in a public.
Sir, can I come in a minute, sir? I have done research on that, sir, value proposition. I found that if you are a snobbish value, if required, then this course is maybe okay. You can tell that I did that, okay, Stanford program, that program, it cost me 3,50,000 rupees or something like that. Okay, I had the certificate for it.
No, that's why
that will cost you 1 lakh.
Sir, from an institutional perspective, I do not want to put something on record here, but then a value proposition is dependent on the user there.
So it is so high value.
Yeah.
Get friendship with the professor.
Sir, I also believe the Indian
same money is like invest on doing the test.
Yeah.
Sir, I also believe the Indian perspective is very different from the Western perspective. So, faculty who are teaching there may have a very different approach and understanding from how we see the things around.
I fully agree with you. I think from Indian perspective, a lot of us have the responsibility of even trying to bring into the mainstream literature some of the solutions. Whether what Manmeet ma'am the other day said about Satyagraha, or what I discussed about the Amul milk business in India, they were all great examples of some of this thinking, but we have not conceptualized and put them into a framework and said, okay, this is how it has happened. The people who have done it have not said that, but that is the process they have gone through. So our weakness is, one, we don't make these things into models, our success into put them into a framework and a model. And number two, we are not very aggressive in publishing them. If you do that, probably, Manmeet madam, you can offer the design thinking course in your own university, and it can be as good as any global university's course.
Thank you so much, sir. Means a lot. I'll surely work on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And yeah, anything else? Any other question? I have 2 minutes more before Mr. Sayantan.
So, sir, actually,
yeah.
So, sir, my name is
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Voice is breaking.
I found that if you invest
sir, your voice is breaking. Your voice.
Many years I was involved. Oh, sorry.
You're not audible.
So I find it that if you tell me in the sorry, then sir, I think something wrong in the problem. In the connection will talk.
Yeah, I think you'll have to probably re-log in. Your voice is breaking. Okay, so 3:35 we will break. You need not log out. You can continue to be there, and 10 minutes later we will start the next session. And if you still have any questions, you can. And those who have got the issue of your reviewer not available, or you have already received some partner for reviewing your work and that person is not available, those things are there, we can discuss in these 5-10 minutes. But the session will start at 3:45. Is that okay?
Good afternoon, sir. A small point, that Google link for submission is not working. So can we mail it to you directly?
Oh, yes. Sure. No problem.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I want to bring one issue.
Yes, sir.
That in the past stage of the your submission, that is the